Wednesday, and of course those of you who listen every Wednesday know that it's Joe Steckler Day, helping seniors of Brevard. And right now, here's the host of the show and the founder of Helping Seniors of Brevard, none other than Joe Steckler. Hi, Joe.
Hi, John, and welcome, dear listeners, to this Wednesday edition of Helping Seniors. With me in the studio is my mask, which I have on, and Bill Johnson, elder law attorney, has been probably the longest running person on my radio show since we started back in the 90s. And Kerry, Fink, our media director. So there's three of us here. And folks, the purpose of helping seniors is to inform, educate, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors to the resources available in Brevard County. And over the years, we've managed to do that. And I asked Bill this morning how many people estimated we had still on the Florida Medicaid waiting list, because he's going to talk about Medicaid and Medicare this morning and some of the new changes. But we have about 52,000 people on the Medicaid waiting list. You never hear our governor talking about all these people that are waiting for care. And the sad part about the Medicaid waiting list is that as doctors identify the people with the number of activities of daily living that they have, that they need help with, some of the people are getting shoved down the list for help. And I just often wonder how many of those people that need help with taking a shower are pushed down the list because they only have one or two things they need help with. And somehow I think we need a fairer system of how to adjudicate whether or not these people need help and care. It needs to be something that's looked at on a daily basis. And Bill, you're going to talk about Medicaid and Medicare this morning, but do you have a comment about what I'm talking about with trying to get people to the front part of the list so they can really tell whether or not they need help? How can we do that?
Well, let's back up and tell the listeners how the whole system really works. For long-term care, each state is required to carry Medicaid coverage for nursing home care. That's traditionally called the institutional care program. Now, states can deviate from that primary function if they ask the Center for Medicare and Medicaid for a waiver. And in Florida, we've asked for a waiver from that so that we can additionally supply Medicaid services to people at home or in an assisted living facility. The reason you can get a waiver from CMS is so that you can serve more people and additionally save the state money. And the idea behind it is if we get to these people before they get so bad that they need a nursing home, if we help pay for them to be at assisted living or at home, then we don't have to pay the nursing home bill out of the state coffers.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and the idea, is if we can get them some care at home, it's going to cost X amount. If it's at an assisted living, assisted living start at about $3,500 here in Brevard. And then nursing homes are a whole nother ballgame where it jumps up to $9,000 to $11,000 a month for a month of nursing home care. So if we can keep them out of the nursing home, the state can save money. The problem is that for the home and community-based services, which is getting services at home or at an assisted living facility, the waiver program has a wait list. And there are 40,000 slots currently for the entire state. And the wait list to get one of those 40,000 slots is 52,000 people deep at last count. So we got 52,000 people waiting to get one of the 40,000 slots. Well, how do you get on the wait list? Well, you have to get on the wait list through at least in Brevard County, in Orange, Osceola, and Seminole, is through the Senior Resource Alliance over in Orlando. You do a phone interview with them, and you have to show that you meet one of 5 different medical tests to get on the wait list. And these 5 ways you can get on the wait list are usually based on your ability to do activities of daily living, which are walking, transferring, bathing, dressing, eating, and toileting. There's 6 of them. You can get on the wait list if you need some help with 5 or more of those, or if you need some help with 4 or more plus supervision of medications, or if you have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia and requires some help with 3 or more, or if you require total help with 2 or more, or if you have a degenerative or chronic condition requiring daily nursing services. So to get back to your question, you basically have to have 1 foot in the nursing home before you can even become eligible to get any of these services at home or in the assisted living facility.
So then,
because if you need some help with 5 or more activities of daily living, you're pretty bad off.
so if you're one of those 52,000 people on the waiting list, if people get identified as having a need for more help with activities of daily living than you do, you just keep getting shoved back down the list.
Correct, because they are also going to assign a rating, and they have a questionnaire, and it assigns different points to answers off of the questions they ask you. So even though you may qualify, they're going to give you a rating, and generally that rating is from 1 through 5. And based on how you score, they will give you your rating, and then you go on the wait list, and the 5s are at the top, the 4s and the 3s and the 2s and the 1s. That's kind of a generalization. So if you're a 5, which means you're really bad off, you're going to be on that wait list probably 6 months or less. If you're a 1, where you may only need help with, 2 activities of daily living or total help with 2 or more, you'll probably be on there several years. You're correct.
That's hard, Bill, because I've been waiting. I've been for the last 3 to 5 years. I've been going to pain management people because of my knees, and now they realize that pain management is not going to help me, and the only thing that helped me is to replace the knees, both of them. So I'm scheduled to have one of them done here in a couple of weeks, if I can get my blood platelets up to the count that the doctors want, which is over 100,000 or more. And so if you're faced with that, with the problems of walking and showering, I do it. I do these things. But it's not without a heck of a lot of pain. And
well, if you notice, of the 5 activities of daily living required to get on that wait list, of the 6, 5 of them require mobility and balance. So if we have somebody with a mobility or balance issue, usually we have problems with walking, transferring, bathing, dressing, and toileting. So that helps you get a higher rating, so to speak. The big loser in all of this is somebody who just has dementia, where they're mobile, otherwise healthy, but they have dementia and just need constant redirection. If you don't need help with any of the activities of daily living, dementia alone is not enough to get you assistance through the state waiver program.
so what we're saying, I guess, Bill, is that if people are stubborn enough to do these things themselves, no matter how bad it hurts them, and they make up their mind they can do it, they truly are hurting themselves and getting care.
Well, you know, what happens is people typically end up deteriorating. You know, if you don't get care or you don't get your medicines, typically they deteriorate. So that's, you know, one aspect to this. The other one, Joe, is, and I know we both talked about it on the radio before, but the way to qualify to have long-term care insurance kick in on most policies requires the inability to do 2 activities of daily living or a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. So it's much easier if you have long-term care insurance to get it started and going than it is to kind of rely on the state Medicaid program because you'll be on there a while.
Yeah, but so few people have long-term care insurance that
I think it's about 4% of the country.
that's very low, Bill.
That's extremely low.
Yeah. Kerry, you've been very quiet about what would you add to it?
Well, to me, it's interesting to hear Bill kind of go through the explanation, because I think for the general public, we don't really understand the difference between the short-term Medicare benefit. For example, if somebody comes out of a hospital and they need like rehab, and you get, I think it's 100 days or something like that, a benefit. But then when you're faced with a more long-term situation, one of the things that it suggests to me, and I was going to ask Bill about this, is are there ways to, I mean, it sounds like you need help to negotiate the whole system for Medicaid. If you're the person that's facing it, what do you do from the standpoint of the person who's trying to figure out, wow, I'm seeing this on the horizon. What do I do to get ready for that?
Well, let's take, there's like 2 questions there, so we'll take the first one. And under Medicare Part B, you get, as long as you have a 3 midnight stay at the hospital, and you go into a nursing home within 30 days for rehab, and you're actually participating in rehab, Medicare Part B pays 100% of days 1 through 20, and then there's a copay of around, I think it's $179 a day for days 21 through 100, and after 100 days, there is no coverage. Now, if you're not participating in rehab or you can't participate, Medicare shuts off early. It does not, you have to be doing rehab. There's a misconception out there that you have to be improving. That is not the standard in the United States. There was a case about 14 years ago that said you just have to be participating in rehab, even if it just keeps you at the same level or prevents you from going backwards. You do not constantly have to be improving. So if you have a long-term situation that's going to go longer than that, Medicare is not going to cover it. And so you have to either have long-term care insurance, or you have to have a lot of money, or you qualify for Medicaid. And if the option that you're going to go to is to qualify for Medicaid, probably the number one thing you need is a very good durable power of attorney. And then the second stop, if you already have that, should be with an elder law attorney to review your finances and how you're going to go around qualifying for Medicaid. There are techniques that can be done to protect assets. The one thing I would tell everybody, in Florida, they do not take your house. They can't touch your house. It doesn't count as an asset for Medicaid qualification purposes. So, the notion that Medicaid or the nursing home is going to take your house is a fallacy in Florida. That's because of our state constitution.
Well, let's talk about one thing that we seem to skirt this all the time, and that's your healthcare surrogate documents. I know they're part of my trust. I've been reading up on through the book about the knee operation, and one of the things they say that I should bring in to the hospital is a healthcare surrogate documents so that they know who can make decisions for me. Can you explain that a little bit more, Bill? Because a lot of people I think, don't understand what a healthcare surrogate document is.
Generally, we have basically 3 documents that deal with incapacity. One is the durable power of attorney that I talked about. Usually that's somebody you nominate somebody to pay your bills, manage your finances, buy and sell assets, all that. The other 2 are what we call advanced directives. One is the designation of healthcare surrogate, where you designate someone to make healthcare decisions on your behalf. You can either check the box that they immediately can do so, or you can check a box that when a doctor determines you're incapable of giving informed consent, they take over. And then the other document is a living will. That's your end-of-life wishes, whether or not you want to be kept alive, if you are incapacitated and either in a terminal condition, an end-stage condition, or a persistent vegetative state. And usually you indicate whether or not you want the artificial administration of food and water, if it's just going to prolong the dying process if you're in any of those states.
Those documents, I think, are part of a trust.
Well, they're not part of a trust. Is a estate planning document. Usually when you go get a will and a trust and all that, they're part of the package. But they should be separate, standalone documents.
Okay, but you actually for people that you do a trust for, you make sure they have those documents, right?
We talk about those documents, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You have those documents, Joe.
Okay, all right, but what I got to do...
You're covered.
What I have to do now, though, is go with those documents with my wife and make sure that she understands, and then we have to get those to the hospital, to the caseworker that's handling our operation, correct?
You do. You bring copies of those for not only your physician, but also the hospital.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say, Bill, and Kerry, if you want to add a comment, please do so, is that you have a responsibility yourself to understand what these documents are, folks. And you need to know what a living will is. You need to know what a healthcare surrogate document is. You need to know what a durable power of attorney. You need to know all these things because you just can't trust the hospital people. I don't mean this in an offensive or defensive manner of speaking. It's just a protection so that you've got the correct coverage in place.
Well, sometimes by the time you make it to the hospital, it's too late. You have to have capacity to do these documents, and all of a sudden you have a stroke, and guess what? You don't have capacity anymore.
Right.
And subsequently, now you can't do the documents, and then we have to go to court and do a very expensive procedure called a guardianship to get somebody appointed to make your financial and health care decisions.
So you actually, Bill, you can save yourself a lot of time and a lot of grief and a lot of worry and a lot of money if you do this planning the correct way.
Correct.
And that's why I keep telling people that you need to go to someone when you're doing your estate planning. You need to go to someone that understands all the things that need to be put in place.
There's a wonderful document out there called The 5 Wishes. And if you Google that, it'll give you the name of the place that distributes it. I think they charge like $5 for it, but it is a really comprehensive healthcare surrogate and living will package altogether. That is a great document for those, your advanced directives. When it comes to the power of attorney and the will and the trust and things like that, you definitely need to go see an attorney for those.
Because they have specific things that have to be put in place, and if you don't have the right boxes checked off, you could be making a big mistake.
Correct. And also, more and more, and you really want to go to somebody who does estate planning or elder law, because it seems we got some GPs out there who haven't updated their documents in 30 years, and subsequently I constantly get powers of attorney that don't work or aren't proper or haven't been proper for a long time. So you really want to go to somebody who this is what they do day in and day out.
Yeah, that's a conversation we've had before, is because I guess another consideration, it seems like there's a couple of considerations. Number one is a lot of times people would either find a form online that they think is appropriate, or they go down to an office supply store and buy a form, and we've had this conversation about that could really turn around and bite someone, because of, if it's not done correctly.
I can tell you, I see lots of that, including having somebody who's a friend or somebody even at the nursing home handing out these forms that really do not work for what we needed them to do.
Yeah, and not only that, I guess the other complication is, since we have so many people moving into Florida, they say, well, I have all this organized. I had, the family attorney up in, I don't know, let's make up New York, for example, do all this years ago, and so they blow the dust off of it and think it's going to be right for Florida.
True. That's particularly true with durable powers of attorney, because in Florida we have some statutes where we interpret them a lot differently than a lot of states do. We do have a statute that says if it was validly done in whatever state you are in, it'll be valid in Florida. And that's true for wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and advanced directives. However, with especially the durable power of attorney, the way we interpret them, and with some of the other documents, our nomenclature is different. Mm-hmm. So if you move here from somewhere else, you should have your documents reviewed.
Just seems like good advice, particularly in light of all that we've been
agree.
talking about with, the complexities. And then there's that whole side of it about Medicaid planning, because you have to, I guess that's going to be a good topic for after the break, right, is to talk a little bit about there's look-back periods and all kinds of things, and you could really make a mess out of things if you don't think through these things.
You're right,
Kerry and Bill, I know you're going to get into a long discussion here about something. We're down to 1 minute, so we really need to take our mid-show break. And then, Kerry, you and Bill, I want you to get into this discussion after the break, because it is extremely important for people to know more about this, and especially with this pandemic thing upon us and this coronavirus problem.
Yes.
So please stay with us, folks. And when you hear Bill talk, you can pass this on to other people. So stay with us. We'll be right back after our mid-show break.
And right now, let's get back to the show. Here's your host of the show and the founder of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Joe Steckler. Hi, Joe.
Hi, John. And I like to, I'm going to turn the show back over to Kerry and Bill in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to tell you that I've been asked by several people how to get raffle tickets for the car or to make a donation, because they see that, like most nonprofits, we've been hurt tremendously by the pandemic, the coronavirus bug, and it's hurt us. It really has, folks. And we're dependent upon the general public for donations to keep our organizations going. And many of you have been donors for years, and I appreciate that. But we need new donors. And I'm going to ask Kerry just to comment briefly on how to make a donation or buy tickets for the car raffle, because it's important. And, we have a program that helps people, but like any business, we have to pay people, and we have a lot of volunteers that work for the program. But like me, I'm a volunteer. I don't take any money, but we do have to pay some people. So, Kerry, how about explaining to our general listening public how they can make a donation or how they can get tickets for the car raffle? Please do that.
Absolutely, Joe. I'm going to give three different approaches. Some people prefer to speak to somebody directly, and there's nobody better to speak to directly about anything senior related, including supporting the work of helping seniors, than Kim Bernard. Kim is our education specialist. She is the friendly, helpful voice that you will find at the other end of the Helping Senior information line. And so I'm going to give you that number, so grab a pencil. It's area code 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770. And Kim will be happy to get you organized with the tickets, whether you want to pay by credit card, if you'd like to mail in a check, that's fine, or however you want to organize your support for helping seniors. We would be very appreciative. Some people like to do things online, so we're set up to safely and securely let you get your tickets online, 100% safe. We use an organization called Authorized.net, which processes credit cards safely and securely online. So if you have a debit card or a credit card, you can go online to HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com, HelpingSeniorsCarRaffle.com. And Joe, there's another way to get tickets if you are out and about. First of all the Boniface hired dealerships around the county are Helping Seniors ticket pickup points. So you can walk right in there and say, I'd like my Helping Seniors car raffle tickets, and they will get you set up there. And a number of our partners also are ticket pickup points, one of which would be Bill Johnson's office. And he is a longtime partner of Helping Seniors, but he is also equipped with his office. They've got tickets there. So if you're going by for any number of business reasons, what a great opportunity to pick up your tickets right there. And Bill, that's a great point for you to put in the phone number and how people would get in touch with you.
Okay, our office phone number is 321-253-1667.
Great. So, get your car raffle tickets. Somebody is going to be driving a brand new, their choice. They can pick the 2020 Chevrolet Camaro, 2020 Dodge Challenger, 2020 Kia Sportage, or the ever-popular 2020 Mazda Miata convertible. Brand new car. All happens on 10/10/20, October 10th, 2020 at the American Muscle Car Museum. So not only are you supporting the work of Helping Seniors, Joe, but you're also going to have fun out of it, and maybe a new car.
I agree, and I've contributed to a number of charities over the years, and I try to measure who I give to by what they do, and if I didn't know what Helping Seniors does, I'm not sure I would be as willing to give to them as I would be as I am. And I say that because Helping Seniors does a lot to help people. And I have people on the internet that email me and say, why don't you do more about trying to raise funds, Joe? And one of the hardest things to do is to raise money, Bill and Kerry, for a charity. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind doing it because I know that a lot of these charities help people. And that's been my guiding light over the years as to who I give to. I try to give to those that I know help people. And in this case, it's not just because I started the organization, but because I keep a close eye on it. I know that the money that is donated is used for a good cause. And that's my measuring bar for whomever I give to. But I'd like to get back to what you and Bill Kerry were talking about when we took our break, if you can remember that far back.
Not a problem. And I just wanted to add, the concept of what helping seniors does for this community and has for now basically the better part of 10 years is we've operated the Senior Information Helpline. We are the county's only real resource for somebody looking to get information about how to handle a particular situation or a problem. And so to date, more than 3,000 families have been helped free of charge. And people say, well, is this like a referral line or something like that? And I say, well, if your problem was that simple, but typically it's never that simple, and it takes Kim many iterations to make sure that we're moving things in a positive direction. But the thing I'm always impressed with is because of your expertise, Joe, and Kim's background and expertise in knowing how to work through these really thorny problems, we're able to make a difference in so many people's lives, and there is a significant value attached to that. So to jump into this part of the conversation, what I wanted to say was, when we're kids, they always ask us to be thinking about what we want to be when we grow up. And when we get grown up, then they say, well, are you going to save money for your retirement? Are you thinking about sending your kids to college? What are you going to do about that? And then we get to retirement age, and the question is, do we have a plan for that? And Joe, that's what you've always talked about, this aging plan. And so the topic that we started to launch into before the break was this about Medicaid planning, because I think most of us, we just show up on the scene. There's an emergency. Now something has to be done because the way we were doing this before no longer works. But we can be in a lot of trouble. Maybe we thought we were giving money away to the kids to help them along or something, and that could actually turn around and bite us if it's not done correctly, because it might prevent mom or dad from getting help at the time that they really need it.
Bill, what would you comment on what Kerry's talking about?
There was a money magazine I read a number of years ago, and it looked at what are the top issues on the minds of retirees. And number one was outliving their money. Number two was enjoying their current style of life in retirement. Way down the list, like at 12 or 14, was how do I pay for long-term care if I have a long-term care event? So most people, it's not even on their radar. It is a thing that's not going to happen to me. It's going to happen to somebody else. And so a lot of people don't put any thought into it. That's why the numbers on long-term care insurance are so low. Besides being expensive, and the problem is, a lot of people don't want to or have not educated themselves. What happens if I have a stroke tomorrow? And subsequently, that is something you probably need to go and educate yourself about. How is this all going to work? You need to have the legal documents in place. We've talked about those on the first half of the show. You need to have a financial plan on how you're going to pay for this. Are you going to pay out of your pocket? Do you have long-term care insurance? Are you going to have to qualify for Medicaid? Now, Medicaid, just like a lot of federal programs, is means tested. They do not count your house or car towards these limits. And generally speaking, usually we can make it also so they don't count your 401k, IRA, 403b, that kind of stuff. But the patient usually can only have $2,000 in assets, and the spouse, if there is one, up to $128,640. As I said, they don't count house, car, and generally we can make the IRA, 401k, whatever it is, not count. But they're going to count everything else. And there are things you can do to take assets that count and convert them into assets that don't count. There are ways to move money out to the kids, but you don't want to do it, as you mentioned, as a gift, because there is a 5-year look back. So when you apply for Medicaid, they can go back 60 months, and they're going to look for any transfer for less than fair market value, what you would call a gift. And if you've given any money to the kids or given your car or all that, they're going to take the value of all those gifts in the last 5 years divide it by roughly $9,000 or so, and that's the number of months you're going to be ineligible to get benefits.
Wow.
Now, there's a misconception that they come and take your money or something like that. They don't. You just don't get benefits, which means you're on the hook yourself to pay that $9,000 to $10,000 nursing home bill every month.
So, like, the point would be if, say, mom or dad had given the kids, $50,000 to help them pay their house payment over some period of time, and now mom or dad has a problem.
That can come back to haunt you. Now, there are ways to undo gifts and gifting problems, but yeah, if you have made gifts, and that was a very common occurrence, Kerry, back in 2008, when the last time the economy crashed, there were parents who were helping out kids with all kinds of things.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they would get ill and they were heading to, needing long-term care, and we found all these gifting issues because they had been helping the kids make mortgage payments or helping put their grandkids through college or things like that. So that is a very common issue. I expect it's probably very common right now.
Right.
And it's probably going on because we are in another economic downturn.
Right.
And I would suspect that there's probably a lot of parents helping out their kids and grandkids right now.
And yet there are ways that you've talked about, and this is why the value of knowledge, Joe, also is so important. It's what you've always said is, it's not always having the money, but it's having the right advice and help to make sure you don't step into something without meaning to step into something.
A good example of that is, the house doesn't count as an asset yet. Time and time again, I see kids tell their parents, transfer the house to us because you're going to be applying for Medicaid. Well, that's a big no-no because that is a huge gift. Mm-hmm. Several $100,000 gift, and it may make them ineligible for the full 5 years.
And also the house then, as I follow it generally, is generally protected anyway.
Yeah, the house is the best way to preserve assets, usually. It is the biggest credit shelter there is. And they don't come after your house in Florida, so you're not going to lose it. Even if you die and pass it to your kids, they can't put a lien on it or can't take it. So that is a big faux pas that we see a lot of children make.
So I see, to me, Joe, it seems like there's a lot of landmines out there that you could step into simply because you didn't have the right knowledge or the right help to just make sure that you had a good intention, but you did it the wrong way, and now there's going to be a problem that you have to sort through with it.
That's exactly why I asked Bill Johnson to be a guest on my radio show back in 1994. And he's been on the show ever since then. And the advice he gives is good advice. Yes, it does get him business. Yes, it is a good thing to get the right person to help you. And it's important to get a person that will not charge you an arm and a leg. Mm-hmm. So these are all important things, folks, that you need to think about. But it's really, really important that you use your being noggin about what you do, because there's a scam going on right now, and it's been going on for years. It's one of the most popular scams that it's right at what Bill and Kerry and I are talking about today. It's a scam that people will somehow get and hack into the accounts of your friends. And your friends then supposedly are writing you emails about how you can save money or how you can get money. And then after you go through all this, and the bottom line is they say, well, if you give me this much money, I can get this much for you at no cost. And you never have to pay it back. Folks, I followed one of these schemes here about 2 weeks ago. And they're real slick. And they make it sound like it is your friend that's writing to you. It is not your friend. Mm-hmm. I just follow the old adage that you don't get something for nothing.
And usually those kind of scams come from email addresses that look very similar to your friends' email addresses, but they are not the same.
Yeah. Bill?
Yeah, and they typically, they either ask you to send money or click this link, and of course then they send out a million more emails to everybody so any of that kind of stuff that comes through the email is usually suspicious.
Okay, if you just follow one thing, do not, under any circumstances, give anybody your credit card number or your Social Security number, because they can do all kinds of things to get you in a lot of trouble, and they work so fast that you don't have a chance to stop them hacking into your accounts. And I know cases where they've hacked into accounts and gotten over $100,000 overnight.
Wow. Bill, I'm sure you've seen a lot of...
I was going to say, they're not going to get that from me.
No. But if you have a credit card, folks, they can run up a huge debt for you very, very quickly. So please do not fall for that scam. It's just so important. We talk about it every time, and no matter, I'm sure there's somebody being scammed right now as we talk about this on the radio show, Kerry.
Yeah, it's out there. In fact, we just received in the August edition of a newsletter that our state attorney, Phil Archer, publishes each month, and it's actually an excellent resource. It's called the Monthly Brief, and what he covers is the latest scams that they're seeing from the state attorney's office. And as you would imagine, most often than not, they're targeting seniors. And so we'll publish that out on the Helping Seniors website at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. We do each time that they send us one, because it's really good information. And the thing, Joe, that you're referring to is the fact that most of these scams work along the same lines. They want to get the information, and then we'll use that information to do not what they're telling you that they're going to do with it. They're going to use it to somehow profit for themselves.
Yep.
A big one that's going around right now is a Social Security scam, where they call and claim that your Social Security payment is going to be cut or cut off. One of those two, if you don't call them back, And of course, you can imagine seniors who are relying on that to pay their bills and put food on their table are terrified when they get that phone call.
Sure.
And of course, most of them aren't thinking and immediately call back. And then they, first thing they're going to ask is, what's your address and Social Security number? And these people are handing it right over to them.
That's bad news.
So Social Security, by the way, is not going to call your phone.
Yeah, and like our IRS never calls you. It's got to be a written document, and then even then they can make the written document look so official that I recommend calling the IRS office there locally to find out what is happening. They can do that, right, Bill?
Correct. And the same with anything that appears, that comes through the internet appearing to relate to your bank account. Do not reply to it. Do not click on it. Do not do anything. Just pick up a phone and call your local branch and find out if what you've received is legit.
Yeah. And
generally speaking, banks aren't going to send you any emails.
Correct. And the thing is that we get so much of this that we some of this stuff is a scam. It looks so official. They're so good at making these documents look they terrify you.
They're very good at doing that.
Yes, they are. So, folks, the older we get, we've got to pay more attention to what's happening. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to start this advocacy group. Of this doggone coronavirus has hurt us so much, Kerry, that we have so many things we want to do to get information out to people. We can't get the people together.
Well, I think what we're going to end up doing, Joe, as you come through the knee surgery, is we're going to have to set up maybe in September we're going to have to do this by Zoom. I was just thinking, we set tentatively a date, September 24th, over at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard, because we're going to be setting up, as we've been doing these before, in the pre-COVID days, all that time ago, we were doing these community information seminars. And of course, now, as we get into the fall, we're back into open enrollment. So we're setting up, or at least tentatively have set up a date to be able to try to bring some people in to talk about changes in the Medicare rules as we go into 2021, so you can make sure that you have the right type of coverage. Typically, we invite Lance Jarvis, as you know, with Shine, because he is really a leading expert on that. But I was thinking, even in the conversation we had with Greg Kennedy and everybody about that, we were saying we're going to have to make it available online. And maybe that's what we're going to have to do with the advocacy meeting, is we're going to end up having to do just like Bill and his team over at the law office. They've had to learn how to work with Zoom calls and all sorts of creative techniques to make sure that they can serve the people who need, legal help during these times.
That makes a big difference on how we can get the information out. And what we have to do is just avail ourselves of the new stuff that's coming out on the internet and make it work for us.
Right.
Folks, we're running close on time, but Bill, you have a last comment you want to make?
I was thinking maybe Kerry could do a live cam from the operating room.
Don't laugh. When Joe had his cataract surgery, I guess this is a few years ago, we actually had a camera crew go in because Joe wanted to show seniors, number one, you don't have to be afraid of this. And number two, this is how it works. And so after the procedure had been all correct and it worked fine for Joe, then Joe invited Dr. Darlington back over, and we did a Helping Seniors TV show where we incorporated that footage. And it was really fascinating to hear Dr. Darlington talk about, well, this is what we're doing here, and this is what we do there. And it was really interesting.
I remember we did a whole series of shows from Sea Pines Rehab Hospital as well.
Right.
Well, these are all important things, folks, and we'll do our very, very best to make sure these things happen the right way. One thing we started our call the Helping Seniors Updates, and Kerry does these on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding we're getting a lot of feedback calls from the weekly updates because it's another way that we can refer people to the recorded television and radio shows that we have. Mm-hmm. Like today's show will be on 4 or 5 outlets, and people can listen to what we've talked about today, and you can pick and choose. You go on to our site and you can find out what Bill's talked about, and you say, "Gee, that's something I want to listen to." And you can play it, you can play it back, and if you get tired of listening to it, you can cut it off and go to music, or you can do what you want to do. But it's important that you do your research on trying to get people to understand what needs to be done. Kerry?
Yeah, I agree. And I was going to say, in particular, talking about Bill, there's a number of television shows that you guys have done over the years on all. You just Google it by the topic that you want. It could be guardianship, it could be aging legal matters and things like that. And there are some excellent shows that you guys have done, which are kind of evergreen information.
And that information seldom changes, right, Bill?
Well, we need to update that information, but that's why we keep doing these shows.
Right. Okay. Folks, we're out of time, and we're going to take our break, which will be signing off for today's show. And thank you for listening to us, and be with us next week with Dr. Sheldon, and hopefully we'll get Nancy Deerdorf, who has been away from us for a long time, back on the radio. And you can listen to what she has to say because she's with an outfit now that provides care through Medicare. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.